Hi, this is Island Update, and I'm Laurie Dobson. It's April 24th, Friday, 2020, and I'm doing this video from the island of Great Cranberry in the town of Cranberry Isles, Maine. And I was going to talk today about the mystery and the allure of islands, and our island in particular, and talk about why people come to the islands, why they hold such a sort of a mystique and a hold on people. I know I've been an island-oriented person. I lived on St. Thomas and St. John in the West Indies on a boat for 3 years. And I lived in the island of Manhattan for 2 years, just happened to be an island. I have lived in Kennebunkport, Cape Porpoise, actually on a peninsula that's sort of an island, for 9 years. That's where I'm from. That's my hometown. My mom lives there still, and my sister and my daughter. I lived in Rowayton, Connecticut for 23 years, which is sort of a peninsula, but you have to cross over, so it's sort of technically an island. But, these areas that hold an interest to me are places that you have to get to from a destination that are sort of outlier communities. I like Provincetown. I like just interesting places where people have a chance to be creative in a different kind of a way, not a mainland way, kind of not in the heart of... I lived in Oklahoma, and what an interesting place when I was younger for 5 years. So there's a lot to different locations, but for me, it's been a coastal kind of a thing, I guess, because my dad grew up in Kennebunkport, and he goes back 10 generations, and he comes from an indigenous sort of background, with his dad being a fisherman and farmers and fishermen, that sort of thing, like the guys on the Maine flag. So it has that kind of appeal. And my mother, my father's mother was Canadian from Cape Breton, Cape North and Cape Breton, all the way at the top in Bay St. Lawrence, as high up as you can go practically in Cape Breton. And I visited there recently and saw her, the graves, and they were in the museum, and could trace some history there. So, and Nova Scotia is where Bob's father's family came from. So it's pretty interesting going and finding your locations and places that you've lived. My mom came from New York City and Long Island, so she had Dutch ancestry going back there, and English going back to England, and my dad was Scotland, and both of them from Germany and from all kinds of other countries in Europe. So I'm kind of a Heinz 57. But I think this Arcadian, the idea of Acadia, which is sort of the mystical element, that it's actually a rock formation, but it's also referring to the Acadians who were taken from Nova Scotia, forced to, in a diaspora, basically, to find another place to live. So there's a lot of persecution of the Acadians and that sort of thing. That's part of this whole area. So it's history-wise, it's a very interesting place that nowadays has a lot of really, there's a lot of money that's come in to here with rusticators and others that are, artists. But the Rockefeller money, there's some serious money and backing in this area where people want to come to get away. So I'm just wondering, the value of an island. I mean, I've seen, the appeal of the environmental, because it's the beauty of it, and that appeals. There's an artistic quality of it that, for the clarity, the vision of artists to come here, scientists have come here, people that have an intellectual affinity than want to explore. There's a certain peace of mind with a lucidity. When you have fewer people, there's a sort of clarity that it encourages. There's the idea of escape for people who just want to get away from the maddening, far from the madding crowd, I think is the expression. There's service to, offer your own gifts and be of service in a place where whatever you've cultivated in other places, you've got something to offer, or just your energy and your opportunity to come to a place and, let what you are, what you've cultivated, your assets of whatever kind, to benefit a new place. And on an island, there's, it seems like there's opportunities. And to, get away from whatever people might want to escape, their own personal demons, or they just want to have a fresh start, or, whatever doesn't work in their lives. And then, some people want to come here just to work their program, to get away from temptation maybe, or to get away from the various things that have not worked for them elsewhere. And so Bob and I, when we got here, it was, I would say there's a touch of those things involved, each of them maybe in their own way and differently for both of us. But together we wanted an adventure, because we had just come back on our boat from 3 years down the West Indies, had really liked the island existence, mountain island existence, and wanted to have more of a water-based life. And so we had a home in Kennebunkport that was happy situation there near my family, but this seemed like a good adventure for us, and it seemed like that to him. And so we just decided to looking to move. I wrote down here, we were struck by the opportunity to recreate the next chapter together. So then the question is, what does the island want from us, or the islands, because I'm in a 5-island community here. And I got here, people were very eager to explain to me that the best way to be here is to keep yourself, kind of just observe, find out how you can fit in and how you can participate. And my nature, well, first of all, with Bob, he found a job at the boatyard, and he's very much in need, and his contribution is very valued. Mine has been a little different. I've been a community organizer and a writer, politically involved, activist, community nature sort of thing. I've had a landscape design business since '91, and I'm a boat captain, and I was looking to find a way to use my skills, although I had hoped to use the time here to do some writing, some serious writing, and I still have that intention. But when I saw 3 EMTs leave the island, I thought, okay, the island could really use me in a capacity like that. That's a direct service. So I asked the town and got on board with being in the a school that got me my certificate and my national certificate, so that I was Maine and nationally certified. And then in September went to work for trying to recreate. The town basically paid for my education, and so I could be, because they saw the value of that. And I've been on a sort of a probationary status. And I also went to Northeast Harbor ambulance service to do the same, and to actually, because they have more calls, so there'd be a place there to get more direct experience. And I've been kind of at that point. I think then once the coronavirus, COVID-19 hit, I felt a concern that there's a lack of enough safety and emergency resources on our particular island, not in our overall township, because it's mostly based on Islesford, but to try to see if we could make our island as strong and healthy, so it could overcome this thing. And I thought that those are things I learned how to understand more. It seemed like my gift to this community was more directly applicable. The town doesn't necessarily see it that way. I am over the, I'm near the 65 and over high risk. I also have felt, as a community organizer and getting involved in towns from that perspective, and land planning, and a professional planner as well, that I just felt that, I wanted to speak up, and I got on social media and that sort of thing. And I also suggested some definite steps to the selectmen of what to do. These things haven't been altogether well received. And so my position right now in how much I can help in the directions I've thought I could be of service haven't actually been seen that way, because I think there's still the underlying element of this is how we do things. You're coming in, offering individual contribution like that, may be seen as valuable to you, but I'm still dealing, in other words, with the transition process of being in a new community, even if I have an essential service. And it's as though sometimes I think tribalism can over trump the the benefits that could be used. And so I come into this community almost as a newcomer of all sorts, even though I'm a Mainer. I've come from Kennebunkport. I understand fishing and farming. I understand the indigenous. I understand a lot of things. I understand things from a native point of view, being a tourist provider in Dock Square, Dock Square, Kennebunk. So understanding that whole life, being service oriented, but also, being on my own, having been a summer person in the island of North Haven for 15 years, and understanding a lot of how it feels coming from away. I have a lot of understandings about all this, and still, none of this is necessarily helpful, because I'm still coming from a me orientation, trying to, audition for my usefulness here. I just will say, I understand that I may never find a trust connection with the town, other than just, dropping my efforts completely and, taking whatever position is suggested to me. And I've done that. I've cleaned homes and I've done some caregiving and that sort of thing. And it's nice to be useful. It's important to be useful, but also it's nice to know that your skills and your own drive and determination to be of highest service to yourself is really something you can't let go of. And, just to fit in, you can't just be part of the herd. You have to abandon your nature and to feel that it's a bad thing or subservient to other things. So I am going to just be on a value quest for myself, and I offer that in this video because I think it's probably not, I'm probably not the only person who feels these things, and I'm going to be talking about that in the upcoming videos. So I hope you stay tuned. Have a wonderful day. Thanks.